Live streaming is on.
There you go. Hey, Adnan, how are you?
Hi, good morning. How are you?
It's a little bit early with you, I can see.
Oh, yeah, a little early.
So we're just waiting for everybody's... Oh, there you go. There's Shai. Hey,
Good morning,
Shai.
everyone. Hey, it's Shai.
Great.
How's my audio?
Audio's coming
Wonderful.
through loud and clear.
All right. We have a big crowd. Are there thousands and thousands waiting for us?
It better not be thousands. Otherwise, we got a problem. But we are live streaming as well. So I know that'll capture quite a few people. And then, of course, the biggest numbers in terms of views are going to be, who watch the recording afterwards. So I'll just wait a couple more minutes. Just, let everybody that's going to join us that I know is registered come on in. So a couple more minutes and we'll get going.
On.
Oh, there's Mr. Bubbly. Hello, Mr. Bubbly. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Dean! How are you, brother?
Yeah, not bad. Hang on a sec, just fiddle around with the right camera.
Oh, he's got multiple cameras.
Yeah.
He's in a new house.
New house. Yeah, and there's probably a couple of cats around here as well.
So we're just
Hello,
waiting.
hello everyone.
Hey, good morning. Or afternoon or evening for wherever you are.
Evening for us in Finland.
And a cold evening is it in Finland?
Freezing.
Finland.
Oh, yeah. So we'll just wait one more minute. Oh, yeah, and I can see we have Norway here as well. Oh, no, Brian, you're based in Denmark, aren't you? You're muted at the moment, Brian.
Yep, sure am.
There you go. So I'd ask for everyone who isn't on the panel, if you could mute yourself, so we'll just keep the audio and the video to the panelists. And as everyone for the panel is here, first of all, I want to thank all the sponsors of TADSummit Amir Americas for making this possible, because it's their cash that is bringing us all together. So that includes Telnix, STROLID, Ava Network, Automat Berlin, GoContact, Broadvoice, and Radisys. So thanks, guys, for stepping up and sponsoring and making this event possible. So we've got 2 live sessions, one today, one tomorrow. And today we're going to have the GoContact keynote panel discussion. So it was going to be a presentation, but João is busy to say the least. So to help him out, we're making this a panel discussion. And then after the panel discussion, we'll then move on to the Radisys keynote, and I'll let them introduce themselves later. So for the panel, we have João, who's the CTO for Broadvoice GoContact. We have Shai, who's the CEO for Fonolo. We have Adnan, who's the CTO, Software and Cloud Solutions from Radisys. We have Al, who's the SVP, Communication Solutions at Radisys. We have Thomas Howe, who's the CTO of STROLID, and then myself. So we're going to kick off with the latest news. I have to get this one out of the way. So jump in, anyone who wants to comment on this from the panel. Okay, so yesterday we saw the Genesys investment of over $500 million at a valuation of $21 billion by Salesforce, Zoom, ServiceNow, and a number of other investors. I'm interested in people's view on that, quite large investment.
Yeah. So Alan, so I think it kind of reminds me, actually, from a strategy standpoint, of what happened in our industry right after the the web, implosion,
Mm-hmm.
where there is a massive movement from vendors into open source
Yeah.
and service providing and using open source to block it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a similar thing. ServiceNow, Salesforce, etc., is doing their best to neuter what there is going to be a really important piece of their ecosystem. That's why, and this is the basic reason why they're doing it, is to take that competition off the table as far as they're concerned.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, because I mean, there's a natural sort of fit between what Salesforce does and then what the call center does. It's sort of like the automation layer on top of the contact center. So this way it enables them to invest. Now, is it really neuter?
Yeah, it is. It is. They've turned an enemy into at least a frenemy.
Gotcha. Understood.
Yeah.
Interesting. Shai, what's your view?
Well, to be honest, I had not digested the news before the panel started. You caught me before. I mean, it's early here, so I'm not surprised because Genesys has been showing a lot of signs of strength lately, and I've been very impressed with their trajectory. They've also been very acquisitive. I think 2 acquisitions last month. Pointillist was one, and Exceed was the other. I think one is a virtual assistant type thing. One is a customer journey management. But they've been acquiring a lot of companies, and they digested the interactive intelligence acquisition. In hindsight, that seems like it was a really smart move and got them caught up in terms of a proper cloud native contact center.
Yeah.
And they also have new leadership, right? They've got, I think their CEOs from Microsoft. So a lot of pieces have changed in Genesys. This is not the Genesys from 5 years ago.
Yep.
And then today we got yet another twist to the story. So it's something exciting is happening over there.
Absolutely. Al or Adnan, any views?
Yeah, I think Alan, I just like I mentioned earlier, I also hadn't seen the news yet until this morning, but I think what catches people's attention is the size of the investments here and the scale of these. This is just one example. The Vonage acquisition a week or two ago. It shows it demonstrates the value of these solutions and at least kind of hints at the synergies. I know we'll talk more about that synergies and challenges as we go through the course of this panel discussion. But I've heard a lot of skepticism about some of the valuations of these deals over the past year.
Yeah.
But I think there's behind the scenes. There's a lot. It's a lot more about the execution, the size of these markets and the scale, the untapped potential. Still at least as of early this year or late last year, UC and contact center, cloud-based UC and contact center penetration is still around 50%.
Yes.
Right. So there's still a lot of runway here. So I kind of choose to focus on the upside here and the value in it. And it's consistent with what we're seeing as opportunities in the markets as well. Like we don't provide the core UC or the core contact center capabilities, but a lot of the augmentation around it. And we're seeing this potential. So I think it hints at the opportunities for us as an industry moving forward.
Absolutely. And João, what's your view?
Well, it's funny that I think there's a new trend in investment as well, and of course these investors are competitors in somehow.
Yes.
But I see a trend emerging where maybe it's easier to inject this money into an already huge player as Genesys and let them do the acquiring and the consolidation and establish a very strong market position. As big companies are always trying to find room to be the only player in the market, right? And I think most of these dollars will actually go into further acquisitions, picking up smaller companies with newer tech and enabling side markets, let's say, and just expanding the scope of giving Genesys sales reps the ability to do upsell and cross-sell all day long, right? Gotcha. And that way they consolidate their position and create a market for themselves. So I think that's a new trend in investing, is that instead of picking smaller companies to bet on, we give the money to the large player and let them consolidate, right?
Yeah. No, I think that, I mean, when I saw that number, I was like, ooh, that's a big war chest for M&A. I think Shai highlighted rightly that it isn't the old Genesys. I mean, it's making the changes. They've shown, with their cloud-based services, thanks to the Interactive Intelligence acquisition, I mean, accounting, there's lies, damn lies in accounting, but, they're quoting like 100% growth rate around their cloud business, which I think, is relatively, is reasonable. So I think, the shift is happening. I think it's going to be interesting to see how quickly they spend that. If they're anything like Cinch, once the money is in the bank account, it's burning a hole and they move within months. So it could be interesting to see what happens here. But anyway, that's beside the point of this panel. This panel is focused on the challenges and opportunities of merging UCaaS and CCaaS. Okay, so unified communications and customer communications. And this was going to be a presentation by João. He's busy, but we're great to have him on here. So the first question I had on this focus part of the panel discussion is, what's driving this consolidation across unified communication, sort of customer communication, and and also we see with sort of a communication platform as a service, CPaaS as well. What's the customer need that's driving it? Not investor, market, all that stuff, but what from a customer perspective do you believe is driving it? And I'm going to go straight to you, João.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Well, it's kind of, I think that's the piece that needs the more information today, right? Because what I see happening, and I think this has become increasingly clear for me since I've joined forces with Broadvoice, is I come from a 10 plus years of doing CCaaS, just doing enterprise BPOs, right, big stuff. And now I'm, leading a company where 99% of our business is SMB, right? And it's two different worlds, right? It's two different buying personas. Their needs are different. The way you do business is different. We at GoContact, the average turnaround for a project is like 8 months, right? And here we do hundreds of projects per month, and so it's a very different need. And I think it goes back to the realization that there's two different people buying software, right? One customer is buying, and it might be in the same company, right?
Mm-hmm.
One customer is buying a CCaaS solution because he's worried about customer experience and interacting across multiple channels. Yeah. And this is usually a business driven person, right? It can be under marketing or under operations, sometimes even under sales. Now, I think in the last 5 years, you see more and more having a head of customer experience or customer satisfaction or support, whatever it is. So it's its own standalone thing. And then you have, for UCaaS, most of this acquisition is still done by the IT department, right? So it's been driven by the IT department. Yeah. I think some confusion is coming up, and I think COVID is accelerating this confusion, is where you are trying to see companies solving both internal collaboration needs and external collaboration needs with customers using the same solution, right? And you look at Microsoft Teams or Zoom or Slack has a strategy here as well, and most of them have been, maybe Zoom as an exception here, but most of them, have been focused on the internal collaboration needs, right? Company working within itself. Yeah. And somehow with video meetings starting to rise between companies, now they're looking outside. How can I enable external collaboration, right? With customers or with partnerships. And this is a huge trend in B2B, right? Companies helping each other out, being successful. But if you look at the B2C market, right, you don't have video calls with your B2C customers, right? No. So, but there's kind of this back and forth where we're building at Broadvoice, we're building a UCaaS platform that now has a mix of both, right? We serve the internal collaboration needs, but we also serve the external support for those customers. And things are getting mixed up. I don't think anyone has a clear product vision at this point for this that can do the whole scope. What we found is that when we mix, we kind of, we think that we need two contact center solutions, one for large contact centers and one just contact center light. Because if we come in with a lot of software to a smaller contact center, they don't like that, right? And the other way around is also true, right? So I think there's, to sum this up, I think there's a lot of products being mixed and not a clear vision of what's the future going to be like, right? We're all just fumbling to make sure we check all the boxes on all deals. I think that's it.
No, that's a very good point. I think raising the point around the different buyer personas, in that with SMB, yes, it's VoIP. I mean, yes, DID department, but we go UC and we talk about all these magical capabilities. But when you look at what most enterprises are deploying, it's very straightforward. Yes, it includes collaboration now, but and it is a particular buyer. But in a small medium company, generally budget is an issue, and also people tend to talk a little bit more within each other. So I think within small medium sort of businesses, I see, in the accounts that I've seen recently, selecting sort of a converged offer. It's, because there's overall cost savings, one throat to choke, and the two different departments, so the business group, was talking to the VoIP group, and then they realized, well, we're talking to the same company, so why don't we, double it up and, get a discount? So but that's small medium. When I'm looking at the large enterprises, it's a different, the two different groups, two different egos, two different budgets that will never be reconciled because it's a big business. That company, say the it could be the sales organization, it could be the support organization. They have a budget of $5 million, and they're going to spend that $5 million budget, and they don't want anybody else interfering with their $5 million budget. So when I look at the challenges that like Five9 and Zoom had, I think that represents. They're chasing, after the elephants, the big organizations. When you're further down, then I'm seeing a little bit more sort of demand from the the customer, simply because, wow, you can save us some money. But combining up these two different purchases, that's just my perspective. But anyway, moving on, I don't want to occupy this. So Thomas, you've worked this side of the business for quite a while now. What do you see as the customer demand for bringing UC and contact center together?
Well, I see it actually being inside out.
Okay, go.
So as we've talked about before, and I'll mention here again, I think the fundamental problem with communications today is it doesn't match reality. Okay, we're talking about systems which are built that would have worked well 20 years ago, except that 20 years ago we only had landlines and not smartphones. Okay, so we should focus in on that for a quick second, right? And what I think is happening, and this might be controversial, but I think there's a customer demand to reduce their pain for communications. Right. If you look at how painful it is to communicate with a company, I mean it's up there with dentists, right?
Yep.
So this has not changed.
Yeah.
And so we need to solve that problem. And the problem is that if you were to think, okay, that's the problem we have to solve, what tools do we have to solve it with? What else do we have?
Gotcha.
Okay. And so we have to use these tools to solve that problem. And unfortunately, from my perspective, these tools are really built for a world that is disappearing. Yeah. And so the customer demand has to be serviced in some way, but what else can we do except to use the tools that we have, and those tools that we have in general are inappropriate. So That's my take on it.
No, that's a very good point in terms of the shift we're seeing. Well, I mean, the fundamental point you're raising is the pain of communications.
Yes,
and the systems we've got are built on that legacy voice assumption, rather than the fact that we have a device with text, video, internet, and
right. Well, they're actually built on one of two assumptions, both being wrong. The first is that people are standing in your kitchen making phone calls from landlines, and they generally don't.
Yeah.
And the other assumption is that if you have a mobility strategy, it's fulfilled by a mobile app, and people don't install that either.
Yes. Good point.
Okay, so no great solution for the actual pain, and that's why CX is actually, I think, a thing now, because people are just so sick of being hurt. So
that's excellent point. Thank you, Thomas. Shai, what's your view around customer demand for this consolidation?
Well, I guess I would start by questioning the premise around this consolidation a little bit. And I think you hit on it quite well, that there's kind of three regimes. So we're talking about the overlap of UC and contact center, right? That's kind of the original question. Okay, so, you want to imagine it as some kind of Venn diagram, but it's better to just divide things into three chunks by customer size, because at the small end, small companies don't have call centers. So that's dominated by the UC world. At the large end, as you mentioned, totally different organizations. A Fortune 500 company really has different groups dealing with this stuff, and for good reason. Because they are very different technical challenges when you're at that scale. And then there's the mid region where, in some cases, it makes sense to buy them together. And you mentioned, Alan, you've seen cases where people are buying from the same vendor, one throat to choke. I've seen that too, but I've also seen people buy them separately still. I've seen. Really, with deals I'm on, when I can have visibility into a deal, I'm seeing kind of all over the map arrangements. IVR from this vendor, but UC and call center from this vendor, or it's contact center. It's all one vendor, but there might be a reseller or an integrator, someone that's got a long term. Might be an IBM who's then buying Genesys for contact center and BroadSoft for UC. So I see that too, and sometimes I see UC at the headquarters and contact centers all integrated, but the UC for the branch offices and other bits and pieces are still done by the. So I don't think there's something as simple going on as just a consolidation, and one day these two things will merge into one thing. They really address, and João sent this very well, two different questions. It's internal collaboration versus external. And it's tempting to fold them together because they end up using a lot of the same technical pieces. And, for some market segments, they can be sold together. But that difference, they have a different mission, and that's never going to change.
Exactly. No, that's a very good point. And I like the structure of the market that you're describing in terms of large. It's likely to remain separate. Then the sort of mid is where we're seeing that mid-market is where we're seeing that overlap between UC and contact center. But again, it's complex. Enterprise buying is complex.
It is very complex. They don't have an easy job. We all like to be the heroes of our own story. So we picture ourselves, the vendors as being the good guys. Why won't these people just see the wisdom in buying my product? But if you put yourself in their shoes, they have an enormous challenge of sorting through all the messaging from companies like the UC space and the call center space and the CPaaS space. All have a lot of overlap in their messaging, and vocabulary has gotten really messy in this space. There's a whole bunch of words where you put this word up and it could mean any number of. I'm not going to name one because then we'll go off into a whole tangent.
Omni-channel.
Right? There's a number of them that are just total sand traps in terms of meaning, right? So as a buyer, if I were a guy running a large contact center and you put me in charge of revamping all the stuff and revamping UC, that is a tough job. That is, I don't want that job. I like my job.
Excellent. Thanks, Shai. Adnan or Al, anything you'd like to add to this discussion?
Yeah, just a quick note. I think that part of the thing, some of the earlier speakers kind of hit that point as well, that I think ease of development. I think the technology is there, but the ease of development and deployment for mobile first, I kind of don't quite see it there yet. And I think you said it earlier as well, that the complexity, we as vendors think that, well, our solution fits all, but as soon as you think it from the customer's perspective, then you kind of realize that, well, it's not just the one piece of solution. It has to really fit into all of their business needs and their CRM systems and their customer management profiles. And then changes that need to come along, they need to be very quickly adapted. So I think in general, the whole ease of development is getting there, but I don't think it's there yet that a small SMB can go and very easily go and pull. They can pull one maybe IVR piece of it out, but how do you integrate the entire thing? Then you need to get somebody bigger involved in it, and that kind of puts the entire thing into a longer cycle again and a more complex cycle.
Exactly, and then potentially pushes the price points outside of
Exactly.
what a SMB could afford. Yeah, so I think it all comes back to the comment that João made right at the start: is we're fumbling away along. We're trying to discover in this complex market what's the right mix. So I'm going to move on to technology because we focused on what's customer need. So I'm sort of jumping around the questions a little bit, but we've mentioned this already in terms of bringing UCaaS, CCaaS are based around a sort of common platform. I'm interested in people's perspectives on what are the pros and cons in trying to, from a technology perspective, in bringing these two platforms together. And again, I'm going to pick on João because he was supposed to be presenting here, so I'm going to make sure we get as much time from him as possible.
Sorry about that. Telecommunications technology is, has been most of my professional life up so far, and you do get some benefits of having. I see this as a way, coming from the contact center space where scale and stability of the infrastructure is, one of the most important requirements you can focus on. There's a lot of learnings being done at a very high scale of, calls per second or current calls, whatever, or, just having flat out all calls being recorded. All of that, that helps moving into the UC world. Where usually the scaling of the technology is not that important. Usually you just add more boxes, right, and go on with your life. But the truth is that there's a hidden there's a hidden cost moving forward with scaling a company that is now the cost of computing, whether it's your own data center or cloud computing, is just going through the roof. So having that knowledge has definitely helped to keep a very strong strategy around cost mitigation, around the technology itself. Also, recently, we've seen that there's a lot of security threats around telecommunications. Yes. This has been a tough year for telecom around security. It seems like all of the hackers woke up and said, look, maybe we should hit those guys, right? And so there's a lot of learnings to be done there as well. But, and I'm trying, I don't know if you're noticing, but I'm trying to come up with an explanation on where it makes sense. Because in the end of the day, we go back to product and use case. And it's two different worlds, right? When I started looking at UC a couple of months ago, more seriously again, I find out that people are still using presence, right? Yes. It's something that in the contact center world, there's no one speaks about presence at all. Presence on the telephony layer doesn't exist for a couple of years now because moved on to other channels. So you have to move one layer up for that, right? You need to integrate, web chat and email with telephony. So presence is now one level up, right? And I look at UC and, there's still presence there, right? People are still doing presence and fax, I found out we have a lot of fax users. And so it kind of, we know this stuff exists, but it's two different worlds from a use case perspective, right? I can give you a very techie example. The way we set up our contact center platform basically uses the telecom stack as a giant API, right? So there's no, we don't have any business logic inside the telephony stack, right? While on the UC stack is very, very common to take advantage of, media gateways doing, call queues and IVRs and all of that, right? Yeah. So, and that's what you get with traditional unified communications is that the media server actually determines the capability of the system, right? Yes. And contact centers just use media service to, do media. That's it, right? And that actually tells you a lot of how the technology is being used on those two very different use cases. It kind of looks like the same, we throw names around, they sound like the same, but in the end of the day, it's not the same thing.
No, that's great. I think that, bringing the learnings from contact centers in terms of scale, stability, definitely. And the approach in terms of, what, is the processing impact. Something as simple as speech to text in a contact center can have a major cost item. While within UC, just throw another server in. It's like, it's a great function. Let's put it everywhere. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's a cost here. And security, absolutely. We've covered that at TADSummit. We had from Sandro Gauci, we had a great presentation, and we'll have tomorrow from David Kaysen from Telnix, one of the many companies that have been hit. And people focus on the last 2 months. Well, through this year, many companies in the cloud communication space have been hit. Now, the thing that I really found insightful was within UC, it's all about the functionality of the media gateway. But from the contact center side, it's the layer above. That's where you start applying that. So that leads me to then sort of look towards our Radisys colleagues here and interested in your perspective. Because you're providing a lot of the technology pieces for both UC and contact center in terms of the benefits that can accrue from a technology perspective on merging UC and contact center.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. Maybe I'll start. And Joe was talking about it there. There's a lot of commonality in terms of capabilities on the media side between UC and customer contact center, customer care solutions. Our perspective, our customer is the supplier to the end customer, typically with our media processing platform. And one of the things we're seeing now, historically, the commonality has been around some base, voice and mostly telephony functionality for prompting, recording, DTMF detection. But the complexities evolved over time. Video may be sort of the tip of the iceberg, but it's still adds a lot of complexity and requires significant resources and cost to process. Then you factor in the need to, telephony becomes web, becomes mobile OTT access as well. Finally, and most significantly, I think from what we're seeing in the market now, the ability to gain more insights from the media processing as well for analytics, real time and post interaction analytics is really critical. So now there's a significant multiplier in terms of the investment required to support this functionality, this common functionality. Maybe there's more emphasis on certain capabilities, depending on which side of the fence, which solution we're talking about here, UC or contact center. But I think a lot of what's driving the some of these investments as well is on the cost savings and those synergies. One last dimension I'll kind of highlight. It really depends. Some solutions are purely public cloud-based, but we have a lot of customers who are looking at having multiple cloud implementations, private and public, on-premise, so the distributed solutions as well. So the R&D investment required is pretty substantial.
That's a good point on the heterogeneity of the deployments. Adnan?
Yeah, just to quickly maybe add to, what I think Alan already kind of touched on is that, and I think one of the earlier speakers as well, that the solution will be limited to, or maybe perhaps as good as what the underlying media server capabilities are. I mean, in the past, it's been basic voice and messaging, basic telephony kind of capabilities. But as things are getting more and more technically advanced and commonly available, like I'll give you some examples: AI, machine learning. I think somebody mentioned speech to text transcription. Some of these machine learning models that Al touched up on the analytics aspect of it. The biometric authentication of users in an easy way, of course, security and privacy concerns, as part of that. So there's many of these, from audio, video, speech analytics, AI, machine learning technologies that are coming to the forefront now, but they're complex things. I think an application developer can't just go say, well, this is there. but is it there from an ease of use from a developer's perspective? I think that's kind of where some of our focus has been quite a while. I think maybe the next session, maybe you'll see some examples of that.
Yeah.
But it's including those things, but including them as part of the solution that are very easily consumable through a set of, the standard APIs, SDKs. And of course, we mentioned got to be omni-channel. It's not restricted to mobile applications, WebRTC, for instance, and basic telephony thing. If I just use a standard PST and telephony phone, will all those services still be available to me or not? Right? So it's taking those complex media analytics, we call that in general. I know it's a larger bucket of things, but make them easily accessible to the developer community so that those new advanced applications can be created more quickly and rapidly deployed, as things were in the past, which is basic voice and messaging.
Yeah, no, got it. And then, just wrapping up on the sort of pros and cons from a sort of technology perspective, Shai, Thomas, anything you'd like to add there?
Well, I guess just on the topic of, UC and call center, I think it's interesting. I just watched the Twilio annual event, Signal, I think it's called.
That's it.
And it's very interesting because if you had asked me a few years ago, I would have bet that Twilio would have moved into the UC area. And they have not. No. They have made very big acquisitions in other directions. They bought the giant email provider. They bought the consumer data thing. They are moving towards, stronger in contact center, stronger in customer engagement, and away from UC. And it makes me wonder, they're smart guys.
Oh, yeah.
It makes me wonder what they're seeing that made them say, with all of all the cards they had in their hand that said, go towards UC, they said, that's not the area we want to pursue. And I think what I read that as is that my interpretation of that is that they see the biggest growth and the biggest opportunity for them is in things related to the customer engagement. Yes. All the things around that is where they are headed. Now that's just one data point, and they might be making the wrong move, but that was very notable to me in this year's event.
No, that's an excellent point, Thomas.
Yeah, and I think Shai's right about that. I think it is really interesting that they've made these decisions. And so, we're TADHack, right? We're programmable communications. We put together solutions and stuff. And I just want to point out that one of the things that we think we know intrinsically, which is missed in UC and missed in contact center generally, is who actually builds the solution. So you could imagine UC offers as we put it together for you, use it. Mm-hmm. And Twilio being the exact opposite.
Yes.
Here are the pieces and parts, build it.
Yes.
Right? And I think one of the things which we're seeing out of Twilio is that the components which we'd like to build with are probably still a little bit too low level to be able to efficiently create the solutions that enterprises need. Yeah. So there's somewhere in between the built up and the piece parts that are a little more Lego-ish that we can plug in a little bit better and maybe best. We haven't quite gotten there yet. And I think that's actually going to be the enabler that's going to make it really efficient and start answering some of these. It's expensive. How do we do that? We need more efficient.
Yeah, no, because I think that, the term that was used is, in insights. There's, insights is very important in terms of customer experience. And, I think the question around how can those insights and the ability to gain those insights be applied around all our employee communications. And that generally hasn't, of course, as sort of Shai mentioned, for Twilio, their focus is on all the workflows associated with customers, full stop. From the communications all the way through to, like email marketing, to integration with e-commerce. So when your basket is full, you get a message on your preferred messaging platform that basically says, hey, you haven't closed, basically bought all the stuff in there. And it's that integration across all the different workflows, across all the different verticals that you see is a focus of Twilio. And and to what Dean said, because we said the word unified, and that gets him very angry. It's disunified, and it is, because it's a whole set of piece parts and every business is different. It's like, my wife works across a number of different businesses. A small business that's focused on construction has exceptionally different communication needs across the partners than say a large multinational organization, which has all its different silos, and being able to build the solutions to each business's need, has significant business benefit for them, because they're not getting a ton of crap thrown at them that they never use.
Yeah, that's right. And just match it against what we used to have.
Yes.
Every single business had the same phone system. Every single person has the same smartphone. There is no differentiation at that level.
Yes.
But now we're saying, look at all the stuff we can do if we could differentiate.
Exactly.
And we don't have the DNA of it because we're used to having one solution, which is why we're so big. Why is our industry so big? Because there's one solution for the entire planet.
Exactly.
So a million solutions, right?
Yeah. And then just to wrap out on, again, for tomorrow on the keynote session, we have Thomas will be presenting on vCons, which is an open standard for conversations. And I think that's, again, one of the building blocks that I think will be, important in helping, create better insights, not just around customer experience, but also around employee communications. So I'm just looking at the time here. Let's hop to the last question. Video, has become important over the past, video has always been there. We've used video conferencing for years, but, as always, it's now distributed far more broadly. Many more people are using video for employee collaboration, less so in terms of customer communication. So the question to the panel is video going to make the leap from, into mainstream customer communications anytime soon? We've got somebody who needs to mute, do we? No? Okay, looks like we're good.
Is it me?
I think it might be you, Joe.
Oh my God. Let me change my microphone, just a second.
No problem.
What about now?
No, it's
okay. No?
Yeah, it's good. You're good.
Yeah. Now I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a second.
No problem.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, you're coming through loud and clear.
I can hear you.
Oh. Tell you what, while João sorts out his, which mic and speak he's using. So the question is, is video going to make the leap to mainstream customer communication anytime soon? I'm going to pick on Al and add. Oh, you're back. Okay.
Yes.
Go for it, João.
Okay, so refresh on WebRTC usually fixes problems. So that's something that is very hard to do on a smartphone, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so video. I've been through this question a lot because product teams tend to push features. Usually they push features down the customer's throat, and also down the engineering throat, right? So we need to be selective. And, it goes down to the basic question that what are companies doing when they're servicing their customers, right? And if you go down to, the biggest scaling contacts across the world is business to consumer, right? You think of a big utility company or telco, wherever it is, it's, that's where you get the sheer volume of communication happening. And that's, based on the nature of the services they provide and the type of support that customers need, it's very, synchronous. So phone calls is still the number one because, people, if your cable is off or if you don't have power in your home or water is missing, whatever it is, you get on the phone, right? You don't send an email, you get on the phone. So it's synchronous. And it's very transactional, right? It's like almost binary, right? I have a problem, fix it now, right? And if you move this, if you have the same line of thought and you move this into a business-to-business space, usually what you get is a bunch of asynchronous interactions, like I email you, you email me, back and forth, etc. And then eventually we end up in a meeting, right? A call, right? And now this is where video comes in. But I think the point is that businesses are trying to establish partnerships to help each other be successful, while business to consumer communication is mostly, a demand for fixing something, right? So there's no, I don't have a need to establish, this relationship with you, right? And video, in my perspective, is an enabler of relationship within a communication flow, let's say, okay? And that's why we do video with your friends and your family. That's why we do video with them and don't do video with strangers, right? With strangers, we do a phone call and not video, right? And, it would be easy to do a video call as it is to do a phone call, but, there's a relationship aspect to this. That's why I need you to email me 3 times before I accept to do a video meeting with you, right? And once we get, and this is like a perception on the psychology of communication. Once we get this, we kind of enable where video in the long term is going to make a lot of sense, right? Having said this, there are specific use cases, even in mass markets, like we're seeing a lot of attempts by big companies, usually utilities, to use augmented reality, on a service level, right? So just point your phone to, let's say you have a router from a cable company in your company on your home, right? Just point your camera to that router, and we're going to do a diagnosis using augmented reality, right? So this is becoming, I won't say mainstream, but this is becoming more and more often. And that's a workflow where it actually starts with a video call, right? Sometimes it depends on how you implement it, but it can start with a video call. And once again, if you would compare it to the normal workflow, is a technical guy goes to your home, knocks on the door, he presents himself. So you're establishing a trust relationship right there, right? And so that's funny because now video makes sense as well, because somehow that person is looking into your house, right, into your home. And that needs like a basis of relationship to happen as well, because you're opening up your home to this person that is on the other side. So I look at video as an enabler for that, next level of relationship between companies and their consumers. So if you ask me personally, is video going to be mainstream as from a number of contacts per year volume wise? I don't think so, but it does make a lot of sense in a lot of use cases.
I think I'll just point to our friends at Dialpad, where for them, video is part of the sales enablement process, because there is an escalation of the conversation to the point where trust becomes an important component, and bringing in video enables the salesperson to close that deal, whether it's signing up to a university course or signing up to an insurance policy or something like that. So I think you're right. It's all about different use cases. So again, I'll point to the video guys, Al and Adnan. You're doing a lot of stuff in the video space. So I'm interested from your perspective, when's video going to be mainstream in customer communications?
So I guess you could argue it is depending on the context, just like João was talking about the different applications or use cases where it makes sense. I mean, video in some cases is very intrusive, and that's why sort of the trust and having a relationship and being comfortable, depending on that context, is important. But we're seeing there are applications where the traditional mediums of voice and text only aren't going to serve. João was talking about customer support troubleshooting, but there's also how do I fix something? How do I use a product? And people are if the customer interaction systems that enterprises or businesses employ aren't using video, customers are finding other ways to source videos to help them. They're using YouTube for how to or to make purchase decisions on products. And YouTube is there's a lot of noise there. Businesses don't have the ability to control the message, to control the placement, how their product is used. So there are a lot of it is already mainstream if you look at it from that context. Like how-to videos are typically the second or third most common videos that are viewed on YouTube, for example. There are other benefits to video. You see a lot of studies where people will talk about how video has helped them make purchase decisions. Video can sometimes help lower inhibitions for what people will communicate, on more complex subjects like financial topic or benefits. We see a lot of interest in HR departments employing video for communication and even automated interactions. So I guess we would argue that it's mainstream for the applications where it makes sense, and it's really incumbent on businesses to get on that bandwagon, or else somebody else is going to do it for them. And I think that YouTube is a great example of that.
Absolutely. And the misinformation on YouTube, it's like I was looking for laying Belgian blocks for a particular problem I've got, and the top 2 or 3 were just wrong, because they're just popular, and you just realize, now, that's not a direct analogy, but YouTube, in many topics really doesn't do a lot of products any good. Yet, I think, being able to have, from a particular, you're interested in a particular project, drainage system, they just should have the videos there. Like even Home Depot has got its head around it needs videos there. But of course, it's just for a niche of particular products. Yeah, I think that it does need far more time. I mean, the problem is, of course, the cost of producing those videos. Everybody thinks we need professionals. No, you don't. You could do things very cheaply indeed, because you just need somebody who knows and then can present it in a semi-coherent way. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm going off there. So because of time, just quickly from Shai or Thomas, your views around video and customer communication.
Well, I will be a little bit contrarian in terms of video in the contact center. And when I say that, I'm excluding the this idea of YouTube videos or on-demand videos. Put that aside. Yep. Put aside, take a photo and upload it to the agent. That's a separate thing. Yep. Put aside internal community. Just contact center with video. On that front, I'm not really seeing any appetite from call centers. One of the biggest problems call centers are fighting right now is the work from home situation really stretches the bandwidth problem for them. They're having a lot of trouble having consistent, reliable audio to all their agents that they sent to go work from home because of the pandemic. In fact, one of your sponsors, Alan, Subspace, is focused on exactly this problem, like optimizing the IP transit, the IP route to help minimize it. So that's the last thing those guys want to do is say, oh, let's add high bandwidth video to our at-home agents. Now, look, that's transient. It'll be fixed, and people will be back in the call center. And I guess you could say the agents we want on video will have to have on premise, and the work from home agents will keep them off the video. But you're adding another layer of complexity here. And I guess what it boils down to me is, I don't see call centers with an appetite for this in the classic sense of doing a video call center interaction. And I think the reasons for that is that the costs just outweigh the benefits. So I mean, let's talk about cost. Number one, you've got this bandwidth problem, especially with work from home agents, which I just mentioned. Number two, you've got the problem that if there's any problem with the video, if the consumer is having difficulty and the mic's not working or the video is choppy, it's just another problem you've added to a transaction that you don't need any other wrinkles. Like the last thing you want to do is be troubleshooting someone's video who's just a consumer, and that was separate from the problem So, and then number three, you introduce all the issues around what should the agents look like and how should their hair be and all the other, let's just call them HR issues around having your agents on screen. And then on top of that, remember the call center traffic is often very spiky, right? Like some call centers just get walloped on Monday morning, and then by Monday at 2, it's all over. Yeah. And the rest of the week, that's the last thing you want for a high bandwidth. And then especially when you've got some kind of big rush to the call center, product recall, or, there's a pandemic and everybody's. So in a lot of ways, it's just counter to, it just, it doesn't, it runs against the grain to do this for call centers. And I think they look at all of that and then they say, okay, well, what is the upside here? Our customers, in terms of a classic, I'm not talking about, talking to your financial advisor about I'm talking about your classic, simplistic 2-minute, 3-minute call center interaction. I think call centers look at that and say the costs are really high and the benefits we're going to get from that are probably not there. Exactly. And I don't have a dog in this fight either way. I'm just telling you the appetite I see, and probably these are the reasons behind it.
Yeah, for those specific use cases, absolutely. And then Thomas?
Yeah, so I'll be contrarian, but in another dimension. So basically, in the world, there are 2 ways of communicating: the way you do with your friends, the way you do with a company. And with your friends, you communicate in one way, and when you communicate with the company, it's a very different way entirely. They ask for your social security number sometimes, right? It's just a crazy different conversation. My kids very often start a video call with me. Mm-hmm. That's how I know they're my friends. Yeah. Will a business ever do that? Well, when they decide that they want to have a relationship with me like I have a relationship with my friends, they will. And, I've been texting my friends forever. My businesses still don't text me well enough. So once they get that one down, maybe they'll get to the video. But I think that's why. I think they care more about themselves than their customers. And that's why they're doing it, because they don't care how they sound or look. Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. So we're coming up on time for this panel session. So again, I'd just like to thank João, Shai, Adnan, Al, Thomas for your time for this panel discussion. I think I'm going to be producing a summary of it. I think we covered some excellent points. It was, for me, really insightful, and I think clarifies where where that merge between contact center and unified communication makes sense, and some of the dimensions or use cases, let's put it more simply, that it can make sense. So again, thank you so much, guys. We're now going to be moving on to the keynote from Radisys. So I would ask Al and Adnan if you can share your screen so we can see your slides, and over to you.
All right, thank you, Alan. Just one moment.
Yep, I can see it.
All right. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks, Alan, and thanks for that panel discussion. I'll start. So what Adnan and I are going to walk through today, we'll give you a brief introduction of Radisys. We'll talk about some of the new solutions from Radisys that I think actually will build on some of the points we discussed during the panel discussion. We'll share a couple of video demos of some of these applications, and then we'll hand over to Adnan. I'll talk about in the spirit of programmable communications and application enablement, how some of these applications can be built and tailored by customers who are providing these communications services at UC and CCaaS solutions to their customers. So first, brief introduction of Radisys. While many people in the audience may not have heard of Radisys, there's a good chance that on a day-to-day basis, they're using Radisys technology for their communications needs. We provide technology for UC and contact center vendors as that kind of media foundation we talked about in the panel discussion. Most of the conferencing solutions that customers use in the market use Radisys technology. Over the past few years, one of the most significant parts of our business has been in the enabling voice and video over LTE services. So today with our media server technology, we're deployed in almost 200 mobile operators today, serving almost 2 billion subscribers. A couple of years ago, and at the end of 2018, we were acquired by Reliance Industries. Reliance is India's largest private sector company. They have businesses in telecommunications, in petrochemicals, in retail. One of the things that becoming part of the Reliance and Geo Platforms family has offers Radisys and our customers is the ability to take Radisys's heritage and experience in providing solutions for communications applications. Our sister company, Reliance Geo, their operational expertise and excellence as they've, over the past 4 or 5 years, launched what is now one of the largest mobile networks in the world, serving over 500 million subscribers. So we're able to take that wherewithal and on automation of network operations, cost efficiencies, building network from the ground up for virtualization and microservices-based architectures, and provide this combination of expertise to our customers. One of the things that we'll also touch on here, those who do know Radisys will recognize Radisys traditionally as a provider of building blocks for these solutions. One of the things our customers have sought, especially over the past few years, as we talked about in the panel discussion, with plethora of new modalities for communications, whether it's through web interactions, traditional landline telephony, mobile and broadband communications, and mobile applications, the injection of more video into consumer and business interactions. Customers are asking about how can I leverage the investments I've made in this technology to provide new applications and services. So we'll talk more about some of those new applications and the technology we built those solutions on in a minute. But did want to talk. We didn't talk much about CPaaS or whatever different monikers for this market, whether it's CPaaS, programmable communications, enterprise voice and video. I think this market is without a doubt large and growing fast. We talked about some of the investments, the market caps for vendors in the space, and the acquisition or investment valuations really tell the story about how significant and valuable this market is. One of the things we see propelling this market in coming years are technologies that provide more insights into those communications interactions, like real-time speech, being able to make inferences from video streams, whether it's identifying individuals more securely, determining their engagement level, their interest level, even their satisfaction, being able to determine objects, motion, things like that. These are we see really significant attributes and values for new communication solutions moving forward, especially as with broadband networks, low latency networks, the growth in IoT and real-time media-enabled IoT devices with cameras and video streams. Alan, you've called this space, and especially with the technologies we've brought to it, media CPaaS. But with some of these trends, we see these services that we can enable for customers, we'll call it the CPaaS 3.0, and they're gaining a footing. So two years ago, Radisys launched a new suite of applications under the Engage brand. These are built on that Radisys media processing foundation. But the goal of this application suite is to allow businesses of all sizes to more cost effectively enable compelling new digital interaction services that can combine communications, video and voice, text, messaging, context, and that real-time media stream insights or analytics, regardless of the device, regardless of the location or the channel that the customer or the application, whether it's P2P or P2A, regardless of the location or the channels of that interaction. These solutions that we'll talk about and demonstrate were built with a platform we call our Engage Digital Platform, or EDP. It was our goal first to build this platform and provide new applications that customers can use off the shelf and configure and customize. Now that we've proven its scalability, reliability, and capability in some of the applications we'll demonstrate, we're actually providing a sort of a sneak peek here. We're going to be launching this product in Q1 of next year, and already making it available to some customers as well. The Engage offers are targeted at communication service providers, including those mobile operators that I mentioned earlier, our installed base, UC and contact center application providers, and systems integrators. Radisys is not selling to enterprises, but we're serving the companies that are providing solutions for businesses, for B2B and B2C applications. These Engage applications and this Engage digital platform can be consumed from a Radisys cloud, but also deployed in our customers' data centers, even on an enterprise premise through partners as a managed services. A couple of other key attributes for the solution. These are white label applications. So customers, it's about our customers' brands. They can capture more margin. They can more flexibly bundle these applications and services with their other complementary offers to suit the unique needs of their markets. One of the first applications we launched as part of this Engage suite is called the Engage Video Assistant. So some of the things we talked about in that panel discussion about the benefits of video, how video can be more engaging, used for customer support, for selling e-commerce applications that aren't really well suited for text or voice only, or have traditionally required an escalation to a live agent to interact with. The Engage Video Assistant builds on a natural language understanding engine to enable conversational interactions, whether it's through text, voice, or video. And again, regardless of whether it's telephony or it could be a video over LTE call. It could be a mobile through an OTT app or through a web application. And essentially, what this solution can do is automate more interactions that otherwise would have gone to an agent or would not have been served very well by other automated modalities. What I'll do, I'm going to run through a short video here to demonstrate this application.
Hi, welcome to Radisys Insurance Agency. I can help you pick the right insurance or help you file a claim. Please ask your question. What can I assist you with today?
I'd like to know about home insurance coverage options.
Sure, we provide protection of all types of properties, condominiums, single-family homes, ranch, you name it. We cover you from unforeseen threats such as natural calamities or random acts of theft and vandalism. Do you have any specific questions about the home insurance? Maybe documentation or claim process?
Yes, I want to learn about the claim process.
Our home insurance claim process is very simple. All our agents are available 24/7 to file a claim. You can call them anytime, or you can simply go online and fill a short form to get started. For more details, please visit radisysinsurance.com/home/claim process.
I'd like to file a claim.
Sure, I can certainly help you with that. Who is your insurance carrier?
Mercury Insurance.
Great. Let me transfer your call to an agent in your insurance carrier. Have a nice day.
Hi, it sounds like you'd like to file a claim today. Let's get started.
So a couple of things I would like to highlight there. First, even for, I think it's an interesting workflow to show how video can be used to make an interaction more engaging. For this insurance agency, it puts a face to the company. We talked about the relationship, building relationships, and how video is important there. Well, video doesn't have to be two-way. And one of the things that we've seen actually, and I think it's been relatively surprising to me, is the interest in this product for small businesses, where the people who are the personalities in the business, the people that work for the business, they are part of the community. They go to church with their same churches with customers. They're in the same civic associations. So it's another way to extend and create those relationships in a non-intrusive way with much lower barriers. You might have noticed there in that transition and the transfer from that automated interaction to the agent, that there was a video, an ad that was played. So another opportunity to provide engagement even in even as a workflow transitions, and pitch new products and services. And again, I think video is shown in many different studies that it's more people retain messages and information from videos more so than from text or voice only. So one benefit of this EVA product is that the underlying building blocks make it versatile to serve other applications. Existing IVRs can be upgraded to use conversational speech for voice interactions. In addition to supporting external cloud speech services, the technology can provide an integrated and in-network speech processing solution as well. Alan, you mentioned during the conversation earlier that the cost of speech in a contact center can quickly spiral out of control. So having an in-network solution provides a few benefits. One, it can dramatically lower the cost of speech processing. We've seen examples when we start to combine technologies like keyword or a small command set engines with conversational speech to text processing. They can easily be woven together with the right tools that are accessible to developers, but it can dramatically lower the cost of these speech intensive solutions, upwards of 90% in some cases we've seen from a TCO perspective. It can also improve response times. Milliseconds can matter in customer interactions, and cumulatively that can also affect and lower the cost of these services as well, rather than going out to a public cloud and adding latency to the interaction. It can also help reduce customer concerns about privacy. How is my speech being used? Is it being used is it being monetized? Am I being listened to? People are concerned with their smart speakers. So it can even allay some of those concerns. One of the other attributes of this solution, and again, this kind of building block approach, we can provide turnkey solutions that can be customized, but they can also be decomposed and used in different ways. While the EVA product has a full turnkey NLU engine and text chat capabilities, there are many existing text chat solutions already employed, and digital assistants or bots already created. We can take the voice and video capabilities here and extend those existing solutions so customers can maximize the ROI of those existing investments. And these different features can also be, and capabilities can also be applied to more person-to-person or person-to-application interactions. And the next demo that I'll play illustrates how some of these same building blocks in this one application can be used to enhance the collaboration interaction.
Hi, I am Sophia, your virtual assistant. Welcome to the Radisys Engage conferencing platform. I will authenticate your facial and voice biometrics and help you join the conference. Please look straight into the camera while speaking your passphrase.
I'm doing a webinar today and would like your support.
I was able to successfully authenticate you. You will now be joined into the conference.
Hi everyone. Thanks for joining me on this call today. I'm excited to demonstrate how the conversational AI-based in-call digital assistant can be used within a live conferencing call. When I joined the conference, you may have noticed Sophia, our virtual assistant, authenticated me as the conference moderator using voice and facial biometrics. You will also experience other speech-enabled value-added capabilities, such as noise cancellation and adding a user to a call. I see we have Sammy and Sunny already on our conference today. Let's dial in Keisha as well. Hey, Sophia. Please add Keisha to this conference.
Sure.
Hi, it's Keisha. Thanks for calling me in.
Thanks for joining us, Keisha. Oh, sorry for the extra noise. Hey, Sophia. Please suppress the noise. You must have noticed that Sophia has successfully activated the AI-based noise suppression feature on our communication platform that removes any background noise on live peer-to-peer or multi-party calls. With more and more people working from home now, it's a great capability to enhance productivity. I'm going to begin sharing now. To avoid any distractions, let me mute everyone. Rather than trying to remember a code to mute everyone, I will simply ask my virtual assistant to do that for me. Hey, Sophia. Please mute all participants.
Yeah, I can.
Thank you all for watching. Our Engage in-call assistant solution can perform many such tasks on live voice or video calls, transcribing a call, taking orders, live translations. The opportunities are endless. If you have any questions or would like a personalized demo, please reach out to us at engagesales@radisys.com.
Okay, so I think like with the EVA demo, if you kind of break down some of the capabilities here, there are some really interesting features that are stitched together. A brandable wake word, Sophia in this case, that companies can use to extend their own identity and persona. Uses minimal compute resources, can even be used to drive some of the commands that Talal was initiating here in the conversation without going to diverting to a more expensive conversational speech resource. But again, just one building blocks, and these can be combined and mixed and matched depending on the application requirements. the voice print, the combination of a voice print and face recognition for more secure authentication. It not only reduces the risk of insecure password, but also the hassle of forgotten ones. One of the other benefits of some of the technologies we kind of have highlighted here is that they also enable hands-free use. So as the long-standing kind of safety considerations and even legal considerations for in automobile use of communications devices. But now with more and more people, the discomfort with touching surfaces that other people are touching, and hygiene and concerns, these can be used in hands-free ways in a lot of different applications as well, in kiosks for entering and providing access to buildings and rooms, for example.
Hi.
So I'm going to hand over to Adnan to talk, who will talk a little bit more about how these applications can be created with low code or no code feature capabilities as well, to extend the reach of these applications.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Al. Maybe a couple of seconds here, if any kind of questions or clarifications we provide on the sort of the two demos that Al just played for us. If not, we can kind of have some time towards the end as well.
But I'd like to ask a question, because I love the in-call demo, and we have agents. Amazon, Google, Siri have all their agents, and I remember over a decade ago talking about the usefulness of in-call agents. That's when I was helping Tropo. Why hasn't it taken off yet?
Well, I think maybe I could kind of jump in here for a sec. So I think it's partly that it's relatively new. I think we think in the industry, the sophistication and accuracy in the technology, of course, speech recognition, keyword detection is nothing new, but I think it's being a technology barrier up until now too, as technology is advanced to the point that it's getting more and more sophisticated and advanced in terms of accuracy from a conversational perspective, audio perspective, as well as the video interaction that you just kind of saw in the video in the two demos. So I think it's the evolution of technology that's come to the point where computationally it's become, and accuracy-wise, it's come to the point now. And I think the whole integration aspect into communications platform work can be, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the latter half of this presentation, that it's not really useful until it becomes easily consumable by the developer community through a set of APIs, SDKs, and tools without having to delve into the complexity of the technology.
Gotcha. Thanks, Adnan.
I think there's one other aspect, Alan, too, which is user comfort in using these solutions, right? I mean, I remember early in some of the early speech recognition solutions, even back into the 90s when they started to be implemented for telephony, people would be uncomfortable with it, start shouting into the phone, right? And now, just over the past few years, with there's so many devices enabled, smart speakers, TVs, et cetera, that people are just much more accepting and familiar with interacting in automated ways with conversational speech.
Yeah. Okay, that's clear. Thanks. Any other questions from the audience? I don't see anybody raising their hand. So if not, please, Adnan, carry on.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. So I'm going to spend maybe just a few minutes kind of describing the technology functional components behind this Engage Digital platform that Al introduced, and you saw at least a couple of reference examples or demos. Of course, as the demos explain, that the number of possibilities, as you can imagine, for the amount of applications and diverse type of applications that can be created is kind of near infinite. So what we're providing essentially is what you kind of see in the diagram here in the red part. So this is not a exhaustive list of all the functional components of the Engage Digital platform. It kind of gives you an idea of all the kind of the more sophisticated or complex media processing functional blocks, keyword detection, to speech recognition, to AI, machine learning algorithms in terms of analytics, the video aspects of it, being able to create an application logic, being able to then deploy it, and in a sort of an omni-channel manner, as well as El described, that this can be an in-network and carrier network, as well as OTT application deployable on mobile applications, web applications, or standard telephony interactions as well. From a telephony application, this is kind of where you see at the bottom of the slide there, where we provide connectors into a service provider network to get the telephony access, SIP trunking, the SMS messaging, the phone number access to connect into the network, OSS, BSS services that will connect into the network through these set of connectors. The northbound, I think, is kind of what's interesting, obviously, to the developer community, who are the consumers of the Engage Digital platform, through kind of three modalities. Kind of start from the left here, APIs and SDKs. So we'll kind of give you a little bit of a view what that looks like. How does a developer go and create with low code or no code in some cases? We'll show you how that's done, using the capabilities exposed for the developer community, whether enterprise developer, a typical service provider, set of developers, or other third-party developers that can consume those APIs and SDKs to create mobile, web, or telephony applications that can easily stitch up and use these complex capabilities in a very simply consumable manner. The one in the middle is versus programmable modules. That's really referring to that a lot of the underlying capabilities, like you can imagine, for example, authentication or multi-party conferencing, a lot of key capabilities. You don't necessarily need to go and have everybody reinvent them from an application design perspective. So a lot of building blocks are there. Somebody can take the building blocks instead of building from scratch using APIs and SDKs, and then take it from that point on and customize and tune those to create new applications. So that's sort of the middle module. You take functional blocks that you provide, and then use those as the sort of the starting point, and then you create your applications from that instead of from sort of ground up. On the far right hand side, so as turnkey applications, we do provide a number of turnkey applications, sort of the bot interaction or other applications that have been pre-built end to end, but provide still our customers with the ability to go and customize them, white label them, etc., and make it their own application, rather than having to kind of build up from scratch. So it kind of serves a diversity of our customer base and needs. The underlying capabilities in the Engage Digital platform are what's provided, is what you're seeing in the red diagram in the middle here. Next slide, please, Al. So I won't go into the details here, but just kind of give you a quick view of what the underlying capabilities really look like, kind of zooming into that little red diagram there that we saw in the earlier slide. So on the left-hand side, as we've been mentioning, the capabilities that are exposed for the end consumer or the user of the service are open to inbound calling, outbound calling, to PSTN mobile SIP-based applications, as well as full WebRTC browser interactions where they're embedded into existing our customers' websites. Where the example that Al showed with the insurance bot was literally an insurance company's website, where we will provide the once somebody's built the application, to drag and drop the code into their website and add a button to it, and as soon as they click the button, all this stuff happens on the back end now in terms of that interaction that you saw with the insurance agent. So full web browser, WebRTC based interaction, as well as SDKs for mobile application development, whether somebody's extending an existing mobile application like an airline ticketing system or what have you, or small business, extending an existing application, or to build a new application, whether it's a mobile application for Android applications or iOS applications. So from a user perspective, the set of APIs and SDKs are provided there with some reference applications that consume the capabilities that you see in the large box in the middle. And this sort of large box in the middle or all the underlying kind of media processing and messaging and communication services that can be easily then invoked through those by the developer as they're going about creating their application. On the right hand side, you'll see there's a lot of application level interaction that may be required. For instance, you may need a dip into your database to look up a customer, or whether it's an employee, or you may need to get a live information about something that's being looked up. So, or connecting into an existing CRM or business logic function to help assist with the flow that's being created as part of the application. So that's sort of the application server part of it that is available as part of the application design. In the middle of the diagram, and I'll show you some examples and screenshots of that. So it's through APIs, SDKs, as well as a full digital portal, Engage Digital Portal, which allows for simpler applications to be through a visual design tool. So literally drag and drop and connect up in a visual design studio perspective to create, and through click of a button, allocate phone numbers, or to deploy an application end to end through the visual design tool as well. Next slide, please, Al. So the Engage markup language kind of gives you a kind of a really brief view in terms of the programmability when somebody's using what we refer to APIs and SDKs. So it's all the XML encoded, REST and JSON encoded services that we provide from Engage Digital that allows the developer to use and consume a number of services. And some of the examples that we've shown in here, you can see sort of gather from the element name here, to play something, to collect some information, whether it's DTMF or speech interaction, to allocate and dial out a number and respond to the number, create multi-party conferences, keyword detection. That's kind of some of the examples shown. So all of those are very easily consumable through what we're referring to here as the Engage markup language. This kind of provides sort of the fundamental underlying building blocks in terms of how applications, the developers who are creating applications, to be able to consume these services through a simplified markup language. So this applies across the board to all the functions that we kind of showed in the building blocks in the earlier slides. Next slide, please, Al. So I think this is the other aspect, I would say, that there's a full visual design tool that we provide. So in this kind of screenshot of our service, Engage Digital service, that we're showing a drag and drop ability to be able to pull down, instead of somebody having to write XML code and use APIs and SDKs. They can simply have access to this portal. And through this portal, they can go and create their application through a visual design tool. In this example here, somebody's creating an IVR flow and connecting up based on the responses and each of the kind of the steps along the flow, what to do and how the interaction should carry on from start to the point where you kind of get to the hang up and termination phase. So the full visual design tool. Thing is, some of this visual design tool is not particularly new, obviously, in the industry. The ability to use a visual design tool, I think what's new and kind of unique and interesting here is that the underlying capabilities to be able to simply drag and drop a box in here for user interaction. So that would be full conversational speech recognition to keyword detection. When you heard the word "Hey Sophia" in some of the demos before, those things, including the automated video response that was generated when the automated agent responded to somebody's conversational requests. All of those capabilities can be designed through these visual kind of drag and drop things, where all the underlying capabilities or sophisticated aspects of AI, machine learning, analytics, keyword detection, text-to-speech, speech-to-text, and in the video interactions can just be done through a visual drag and drop mechanism as well. Next slide, please, Al. So this is kind of the example of the bot flow, where the bot interaction in terms of intent creation. So this is the conversational aspect, that if the user had asked, well, I'm actually interested in home insurance, then based on how they speak, this is not going to be a directed IVR like what the traditional IVRs are. You have to say some things in a very specific way, whereas in natural language, a free flow conversation is what this bot flow interaction design tool will allow you to do. So the end user who is a consumer of the service may ask the question in many different ways, in many different grammatical constructs as well as natural language indicates. This is this underlying tool that allows that conversational logic based on AI intent mapping is created through through a visual design perspective, instead of from an underlying kind of heavy duty kind of coding perspective. So that whole interaction from a speech interaction, natural language understanding in terms of how responses are detected and what intents are detected as part of somebody's speech, then direct the flow of the conversation through this bot interaction. Next slide, please. So this was the example where we saw in one of the earlier demos as well that when the developer has created their flow, whether through the set of APIs and SDKs or through the visual design tool, there's sample or reference code that's generated as part of the Engage Digital platform, and the ability for the developer now to go and literally kind of cut and paste part of that code and drop it into their website, or take that code and include it into their mobile application. So there's references and examples as part of that development process that allow easier ability for somebody to go and integrate into their service. So when you saw the earlier demo with the insurance bot as the example, somebody went to the insurance company's website, but now they want to go and add a button to their website to say, hey, you can click this button if you want to have a live interaction with our virtual agent. When they were creating that application as part of this Engage Digital platform, they will get a code that's generated for them, and they will simply add a HTML button, and they go and add that button, and behind the button they go and add the code that's provided, and then everything else is now connected on the back end part of it. So the point of this slide is that it's not just creating the application itself, but the Engage Digital platform is providing the ability to the developer to create the application, but also be able to go and launch it in a live as part of their live offering, whether it's a website or mobile applications. Next slide, please, Al. So in addition to that, PSTN number mapping, so it may not be a mobile app or a web app, as we've been mentioning. So this is for telephony as well, that whether it could be an inbound call, so a small business, let's say electrical company, a small business or what have you, or a pharmacy, they can go and create virtual numbers and tie it into their service. The allocation and number mapping, PSTN or mobile number mapping, can be then created through this management portal. And once the service is created, they can map that service now to a PSTN or mobile number as well. The Engage Digital provides the ability to be able to allocate reserved numbers and be able to map these applications or services that are being created to be mapped directly to these telephony numbers. So these numbers then provide the same interaction that the user would have by clicking the website button or by calling in the number. They can have the same bot interaction now from a speech perspective, or if it's, as Al had mentioned earlier, if it's a voice and video over LTE, and if it's supported by the network, then they can certainly have a audio and video interaction as well. Next slide, please. So the other aspect is that while a developer is creating and testing their application, the Engage Digital platform also then comes with how do you go about and test your own application as the developer is iteratively developing it and fine-tuning it. So there's tools available. This is kind of a screenshot of a tool available, one of the tools available that we provide that the developer can use through a web interaction. As you kind of see the screenshot of this thing here, can go and call or WebRTC call or PSTN call their own service and have that interaction with their own service as they're going and developing it. So all the application development, application launching, as well as while the application is being developed within a sandbox, the tools and the applications that are provided also to the developer, where the developer has the ability to go and test their own applications iteratively before they sort of like, quote unquote, click the button and actually launch their application for live consumption. Next slide, please. So the other aspect that we haven't covered, so of course, once the application is launched, there's the dashboard, the analytics, how many calls somebody's getting, how many were terminated early, how many were completed. There's a lot of metrics and analytics as part of the application that was just launched that the developer or the enterprise can then come back into the portal. So this is all screenshots of the Engage Digital portal that we're showing here. So for this is post-launch analytics aspects of your application. So say number of minutes consumed, number of interactions. So there's a lot of analytics and call statistics information that's available for for the application developer or the enterprise or the service provider to be able to see how well their application is doing through a lot of these dashboard analytics information that's being then that's also provided. Next slide, please, Al. So the reports is more from a detailed call reports. So analytics is sort of the aggregate view. This is then kind of going and looking into more details that some of these services may be tied to some form of billing and or follow-ups or additional analytics information that may be used for marketing campaigns in the future. So the in-call, once the calls are completed, the call detail records and all the information related to the calls then is also available to the portal, as well as through a package set of reports that can be consumed later on for additional follow-up and analytics perspective, or for billing perspective. So we provide and collect this information. It's up to the nature or the developer of the application to see if and when these analytics and dashboards and the information that's being collected is can then be useful as part of the overall service, or as a post follow-up part of the business process. Next slide. I think we're getting probably towards the end here. I think, yeah, Al, there's kind of the summary. Maybe you could have a couple of seconds here or a few seconds here if any questions before kind of wrap up and give you an overview or leave it open to questions.
Sure. From the audience, are there any questions? If not, I'll just ask one. This is with my developer hat on. So you showed EML, Exchange Markup Language. How similar is that to MML, Twilio Markup Language?
I think at a functional level, you would find it similar. That I think there's a lot of the Twilio markup language. Other CPaaS providers in the past, of course, have provided similar things. So, of course, XML encoded mechanism driven over HTTP is the simplest method for application developers to use. So that part of it is obviously not novel to the industry by any means. It's just that the ability to be able to go and use what are those markup languages and what level of sophisticated media processing capabilities are being exposed. I think kind of that's where the differentiator starts to come up in terms of the speech recognition, the AI machine learning aspects of it. So many of the more sophisticated media processing related aspects of being exposed to this Engage markup language.
Understood. Yeah, because it's always, it is in terms of development, it's cut and paste what you've done before. So if I can take what I've built with Twilio, paste it in, and that sort of works, and then I can then enhance it with all the additional features and functions that Engage Digital Platform provides. It's minimum effort for maximum result. You know how developers are.
Right. Exactly. That's right. Yeah. So a lot of example use cases that are being pre-built in EML. Somebody chooses to do that. Cool. They may, as we were showing earlier, some applications can simply just be built through the visual design tool.
Yeah.
And then when they're built with the design tool, they still have the capability to go and fine tune and enhance them through EML as part of the interaction.
Gotcha.
So exactly the whole point, of course, being that to consume more complex features, abstract the complexity of these features only from a network perspective, but also from this sophisticated media processing, and make it really super easy, like low code or no code ability to be able to go and create these more enhanced, more immersive applications, as we were talking in the earlier session, that kind of go beyond the basic telephony and basic messaging use cases we've seen to date.
Okay, that's clear. Thanks, Adnan.
All right, so thanks, Adnan and Alan. Just to kind of wrap up, again, I think this is the first. I think we've publicly presented some of the capabilities that and details that Adnan went through. And as we launch this product in Q1, I think one important thing to notice: this is a platform we've been using ourselves for 2 years to build and provide customers applications. So proven scalability, reliability, the flexibility of deployment from various public to clouds to private clouds. We think is as one of the unique aspects of the solution. The combination of capabilities we provide to create new solutions, what we had labeled as CPaaS 2.0, the functional voice and video messaging features and building blocks. But we think more significantly from leveraging our media heritage and the ability to provide some of the media insights and analytics on real-time voice and video streams, some of which we demonstrated here. And one thing I didn't really talk about, but we also see as a key attribute of this platform, is to unlock network insights from the network as well, real-time network conditions, congestion, the ability to apply on the fly voice and video treatments when there's network impairments. Yes, a lot of capabilities can be built, those kind of features can be built into mobile applications as well. But Alan, you highlighted earlier, not everybody is downloading those applications. We talked about during the panel discussion, one of the inhibitors to video has been the fact that there's challenges with connectivity, especially with agents, uncertainty about where agents can work and when they'll be available based on pandemic lockdowns. If video is critical, this type of network insights can be helpful in managing and even enabling different service levels to guarantee that quality of service, or where it's nice to have, depending on network conditions, on interactions and the modalities and media that's presented can be invoked on the fly, depending on the current network conditions. And as I talked about at the beginning in the introduction, some of the key things we think here from a product point of view, it's very important for our customers to be able to present their brand and have flexibility in how the offers that they create with this platform are enabled with customers. So we provide both that kind of white label capability, but also a lot of flexibility in the underlying business models, not only what you'd expect from a cloud or software as a service model on consumption or subscription basis, pay as you grow, but other options depending on the customer's business models for their particular applications. So we think this can be a solution that provides the best of both worlds for network providers and provide OEMs and application developers capabilities that add a lot of value functionally and from the insights they can gain from the media and networks. So you'll see more from in the next 2 or 3 months. And in the meantime, we can provide more demos and even do custom demos depending on particular applications or use cases anyone in the audience might be interested in. So please reach out to us, and there's a bunch of resources that are available on our website here. And Alan, I assume you'll be making these presentations available as well.
Yep, absolutely. Please send the material through, and I'll get the our weblog out today that basically summarizes this session and also includes the video as well. And to Adnan, thank you so much for being there at such an early hour over in the West Coast, for Al for a great presentation. And I'll leave it open now. Do we have any questions from the audience? I think everybody is, as always, on virtual conferences. But anyway, we'll have the weblog. You'll have to be able to contact the Radisys team. And most of the views on the videos happen after the fact, because it's hard to get people to make time during the day. So it's offline viewing tends to be the bulk of the views we get. But again, thank you so much to everybody who took the time. I can see quite a few people, at least 7, have been through the whole event. So I hope you found it useful. I'm going to get the material summarized today. And don't forget, tomorrow we have some more keynotes from Thomas Howe, who you've already heard of, on VCons, which is an open standard for enabling conversation data to be shared. We'll be hearing from David Kasem from Telnex on their experiences with DDoS, and we'll also be hearing from Ava Network on their platform that enables you to do SMS your way. So again, thanks so much for all your time. I know, Al, Adnan, you have to race off to another meeting, but again, take care, and we'll see you all very soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. Bye-bye.